And we are live. Hey, everybody. Let's get everybody in here. It looks like we've got some people joining us. Perfect. We've got Kate and Anna. What is it? Maria. I love that. Desmond's here. Christy. Hey, Christy. Simone, Michelle, Debra. Oh, another Debra. Hey, Debra. How are you? Nicole. Awesome. People are going to continue to join us. But first off, we want to welcome everybody. And I am Debra K. I'm the founder of Well World TV. And I am joined this way by Darlene Fiske and Kim Marshall of Swell Public Relations. And we were fortunate enough to attend, at least for me, my first in-person event since March. And there literally could not have been a better event to go to. And it was right in my backyard in Palm Beach at the beautiful Breakers, the Global Wellness Summit. And we are going to go through and cover our biggest aha moments because not everybody was able to come to the event. So Darlene and Kim, do you want to say hi to everybody? And then we'll kind of jump in and get on point here.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Kim and I coordinated our outfits today.
I had no idea.
Kim is based in Los Angeles. I am based in Austin, Texas, and together we formed Swell Public Relations, and we've been going to the Global Wellness Summit. This was my fourth one. Kim has been going a little bit longer than me. She's a veteran in the Global Wellness Summit space and in all sorts of other spaces. But Kim, why don't you kick things off and tell us about our first in-person / virtual hybrid event, what that was like?
Well, what do we have, an hour? Because we can fill that right up, Debra. Is that right?
No? Yeah. There's no set time frame. I mean, 45 minutes to an hour is perfect.
Okay, well, listen, I started out the day with my Nespresso coffee from Cuba. I'm married to a Cuban. I know what this means. Girls, I would highly recommend it to everyone. Anyway, this Global Wellness Summit was so courageous. And I, for one, was quite trepidatious about going because I live in, the place that really takes COVID seriously. LA, things shut down and open up and shut down. But Florida isn't known for being so very strict. And so a lot of my friends were like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? And, we are fortunate enough to host the Global Wellness Summit podcast. And we also do the Instagram live, what are they called? Leader live cast on Instagram for the Global Wellness Summit. So I interviewed Nancy Davis, the exec director, and said, why, Nance? Why in wellness are you taking this wild chance? And then she began to explain all the layers of protection they were putting on this event. So if that's okay with you, this is my 8th summit, but it was by far the most unusual because of these measures. So can we jump right in and start talking about those measures?
Yeah, well, I just kind of want to cover, because I think, a lot of us have not been to events. So I know you guys were like me. I mean, especially in the spa and massage world, I was out, I was networking, shaking hands at events, meeting product companies, spa directors. It was a beautiful thing. And then, the world shut down. And so it has impacted us, I think, as an industry because we're so community focused, but also a lot of my friends and people I care about have event companies, in the wellness industry. And so all of that has come to a stop. So I just wanted to highlight just real quickly some of the things that the Global Wellness put into place that made me feel safe. And then, you guys probably have your own thoughts on what made you feel safe, but there was a great level of pre-communication. So I knew that I was making a good choice because they let me know they were going to blood test everybody. We all got a blood test, or not a blood test, a nasal swab test when we got there by Premier Family Wellness out of Wellington. And I knew exactly what the standards were going to be, that we were going to be asked to wear a mask the entire time, that there would be antibacterial products in every space, and that all of the community spaces would be socially distanced, including our meals. And so I went into it with a level of comfort, and they put all those practices into place. And I don't know how you guys felt, but I actually felt very safe and very comfortable for the almost 4 days.
I agree.
Yeah. Go ahead, Darlene. What did you love about that?
What I loved is still being part of a gathering of people and minds and in a big room all together, but being separated 6 feet apart. It was kind of, a crazy thing to see, because every time you go into a conference, it's rows and rows and rows of chairs. And this was like one chair here, one chair over here, one chair over here. Or Planet Fitness brought in recumbent bikes and elliptical trainers and all of this really great workout equipment that you could be on and exercise while you were watching people speak. Or if you wanted to sit on a big medicine ball and, move around and be comfortable that way. Of course, Kim and I used them for ottomans several times. But I thought that, it was still we felt connected, but we felt very safe. Masks were absolutely mandatory at every moment. I may have tried to cheat a time or two.
I know. I was just thinking. I got yelled at a couple times.
That's okay. We followed the rules and did what was asked. And then to your point about the testing, right when we got there, before we did anything, we had to go into a private room and got a test. We got a band that we had been tested, and our temperature was taken. And then I can't remember how long it was, just a couple of hours, we got our results back, and nobody who was attending the summit in person came back positive, which I think everybody sort of, had a little sigh of relief after that moment, and we felt comfortable enough to gather. We were really looking forward to the outdoor experiences. They had talked a lot about taking some of the classes outside, but when we flew in, there was a tropical storm. So that took out all of those things, but it still, I think, was managed very well. Kim, what would you add?
Do you have the pictures at all, Darlene? Can you show any of those?
I do have the pictures, and I knew you were going to ask me that. Let's see.
I'll let her work on that, but what I'll tell you is I was lucky enough to interview the chief scientist for Health E, which is the UV light and circadian lighting company that is so famous. Fred Masick was a 15-year NASA scientist. He's a physicist, and he's been touting the joys of far UVC light. And what's so unusual is typical UVC, tanning bed UVC, we all go bad, don't do that. But this is 222 nanometers. It cannot physically penetrate the eye or the skin, but it kills all viruses on clothes, on surfaces. And so they made a gate when you walked in the conference room that you walk through, and it sort of zapped, but you couldn't feel anything, zapped your clothes. And they were refreshing the air in the conference room. Also at registration, there was a sign that says register here, those typical stand-up signs. It was a far UVC air filter. Then when we set up the podcast booth, it was a table 14 feet apart. So one person sat at one end, one in the other. We didn't have to wear masks because we were so far, and it would muffle the microphone. But we moved the registration sign over there, and it was cleaning our air. So it was really cool to see these layers of protection. The only thing is, I will say, in the conga line on the dancing party, it was hard to keep your mask on. I'll just admit that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we didn't look nearly as cute as we could have, but I would say overall, kind of summarize where in-person events, and I have a poll if you guys want to take the poll, because I'm just curious to see how many of you are open to going to an in-person event or not, in the first half of next year. But if you are an event coordinator or you're thinking about going to wellness events, I left feeling like if it's a small, very manageable, customized event, that it could be successful. Some of the events that I'm associated with that are open to the masses, they might expect a couple thousand people, they're still canceling, through the first part of the year. So if you want to create a customized, curated event, I think you can do it. And the Global Wellness Summit did it very, very well and managed our expectations and our fear right out of the gate. So I think what I left with is that it can be done, which is good news. All right.
I figured out the photos. Would you like to see a few just behind the scenes, what a summit can look like? Okay, hold on just a second. this is on PowerPoint, so I'm going to let Kim. Can you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see
You
here.
got full screen.
I see. I know I'm trying to do full screen, but this was my first time with. Yeah, I don't know. What can I push here to make it go? How about that?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that was the welcome reception. And I mean, we were far enough apart, but they were like, nope, wear your mask anyway. So that set the tone. And you see the spacing in the auditorium, very fun, very innovative.
Mm-hmm.
There's the FAR UBC gateway that you would walk under, done by Health E. They just got a big contract by Boeing. And who's that, Darlene?
Denise Vitiello on a Planet Fitness bike, getting a workout in.
Yeah, she's in comfort zone. If anybody knows her, she's a dolly doll. I think she biked 6 miles. Oh, that was one of the last days. I was tired. And you can see on the podcast how far apart we were. And the FAR UBC air cleaner was right there too. That was the GM of the Breakers. Well, he's called the president of the Breakers. It's a, let's see, 60-year-old hotel, maybe more. Maybe, no, sorry. It's like 100 years old, and it's been owned by the same family, passed on through generations. They only were closed a few months, and they have such strict protocols in place. Okay, now you're on to the wellness innovations.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, let's move on to our next topic, but I did have a couple comments here. John Quarles, the Rocky Mountain Spa Association, did an event in late October. Everybody felt safe. Debra had a comment that she heard possibly one person had tested positive after the event. I have not heard that, but I do know out of all the 100+ people that were tested prior to the event, everybody was negative. So potentially it was, if it's true, you know, it could have been through travel, but I don't believe it was from an attendee for sure. But and then let's see what our poll says real quick, just so we can get a pulse here. So my question was, would you attend an in-person event in the first half of 2021? 38% said yes, 15% said no, 46% are still on the fence. They're not really sure. So I think that's useful information for us. Okay, so I think that the UV door frame by Health E leads us great to our next topic, which was wellness innovation. Not to toot my own horn, but I will. Well World TV was actually a finalist in the Global Wellness Summit's first call for wellness innovation. So we were very excited about that. But there was so much innovation happening in the innovation area. I was fortunate because I was a finalist to sit on all these pitches. So I got to watch all these other innovative companies pitch their products, from sleep apps to brand new protein-derived non-caloric sweeteners, which was the winner, by the way, to all sorts of amazing things. Darlene or Kim, do you guys want to share your thoughts on innovation?
Yes. This was a lot of fun for us because the Tech Innovation Pavilion, this was its very first year. You know, tech and innovation has always been part of the summit, but this pavilion was the separate space where companies could come and set up a demonstration of their new technologies. And we met, Kim and I had the pleasure of actually interviewing each one of these for the Global Wellness Summit. And you can see these interviews. They are available to non-attendees on the Global Wellness Summit website. If you go to the Tech Innovation Pavilion, you can see little snippets of interviews there from anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. We could play one for you today if you would like. But a lot of the things that we saw, Pure Wave, you know, everybody is talking about EMFs, which is electromagnetic fields. And I got my number tested there, and I was off the charts, meaning that I mean, look at me. I've got like 2 screens, a laptop, a phone, a cell phone, and like, I'm constantly surrounded by this stuff. And he's like, oh, you're really not good. Your numbers are off the charts. And I thought, well, okay. So I went home and Googled it, and it's like, you know, cancer this and bad for you this. But anyway, they had this bed there called the Pure Wave, and you lay on it and you listen to these sounds, the certain frequency, and then the bed vibrates, and reduces the EMFs in your body. And it's fascinating. So you can take a post test and see what it actually did for you. I love the things that show results. It's like, okay, here's where you started, here's where, here's what you did, and then here's the result. So we saw a lot of things like that. Another one was OsteoStrong, which was, this is new to us. It's a way that it's like a workout for your bones. It's how to build bone health. And I was so intrigued by that, that I came home and I signed on for a membership. There was one in my neighborhood. And so I'm building my bone health just by doing simple exercises on these machines that were created to mimic that same sort of impact that like a gymnast would get or a really heavy weightlifter would get, but simple, like precise moves that also, again, they have tech that shows your progress. Here's what you hit today, here's your personal best, here's where you need to be, and it tracks it and sends you reports every month. So that was a really interesting one that we learned about. Darlene beds were also on display there. We all know and love that brand. They had their Spa Wave table there, which is one of my favorites to play and listen to, again, these frequencies on a bed of water. And it's warm and soothing and takes you into this very deep state of relaxation in a matter of minutes. Techno Gym from Italy, which we all have fond memories of that Global Wellness Summit. Pinoy is another tech innovation that you get this kit and you can use it at home, and it tells you how much like what your resting metabolism is. And so it's really great for nutrition and fitness. And they're one of the brand partners that will be at Amaranth Ocean Resort and Residences, which is going to open in April 2021. Disclaimer, they're a Swell client. But Amaranth was also in the Tech Pavilion talking about some of their technologies that they'll be implementing, like they're working with Viome and they're talking to a couple of other people. But TheraBody, Bright Beds, if you've not heard of it, is super cool. High-tech restorative sleep product. And they take your movement, temperature, and then adjust those settings throughout the night while you're sleeping to ensure a good night's sleep. Now, it goes above and beyond that. There's also some movements that the bed does. But we thought that was really cool. And then combined with the military sheets, perfect sleep, a good night's sleep is at your fingertips. So if you guys want to see some pictures from that, I can switch over.
Yeah, Darlene, I've got a couple questions here. So they're wanting to know about the bone density product. What is the name of the company? And then does it actually increase bone density?
OsteoStrong, and yes, it does.
Okay.
Now, I want to you can go get a bone density scan like before you start and then measure, but we saw a lot of studies done by Kyle, the founder, that showed like improvements in bone density. And he also showed like all of the other things that you can do, supplements and some other products that you know work also, but this one gets it up there fast. And so yeah, OsteoStrong. It's a franchise, and you probably have one close to you. Check it out.
Can you show the pictures, Darlene? Because I know everybody. Is there another question, Deb? Oh, no.
That's all the questions we've got right now. And while Darlene's picking that up, I'll just kind of share some of my industry updates, because obviously touchless therapies and a lot of what we're talking about here are, you know, non-practitioner based type therapies. And so, you know, that's going to be definitely a big name for the future. And, but on the other hand, you know, I have a connection at one of the largest massage franchises in the country. And, you know, since reopening, they're about 70 to 90% capacity. So the good news is there is an appetite for in-person, you know, practitioner-based therapies, but also this whole sort of wellness technology, innovation, touchless therapies is not going to go away for properties.
Agreed.
Yeah, and what you're going to find is that people, like we mentioned Amaranth, but this is just one example. They want to bring together tech leaders so that when you come there, it's easy access. Like Viome spoke at the Singapore Summit, the founder Naveen Jain. He's like a rock star. If you want to go back one slide, Darlene, he's like a rock star, Naveen Jain, with Viome, because he made a test that you can test your gut biome. And so he's friends with the founder of Amaranth, which will open this spring in Palm Beach County. And so you'll be able to take a gut test and see what foods to avoid for your particular system. You're not randomly saying, oh, I'm gluten-free or oh, I'm paleo, taking a guess. No, the test tells you what your gut needs and doesn't need. And so they'll be able to try to help you, order off the menu to match your needs. And that's personalized wellness, so that's why next year, the summit's going to be in Tel Aviv, which is Tech Nation. And the Tech Pavilion, this was just a tiny little sampling, but it's going to be huge over there. So it just whet our appetite for what's to come in the wellness space. Because, like they say, if you're not in the wellness business in 2020, you're not in business.
Yeah.
And here's Darlene's favorite thing.
Oh, one of my favorite aha moments. I mean, this was a real disruptor for the fragrance industry, is what a lot of people are saying. But this is Curie. So anyone who was in the in-person summit got to take a sample of this, and it is basically a scented tattoo, temporary, of course. And they have their own signature scent, and they have these really great stencils. Of course, they made those, especially this wellness one, especially for the summit, but they have some with the logo. They have some with trees and leaves. And then you paint on your stencil and you take it off, and then your tattoo stays on for, well, depends on how often you take a shower. But mine usually at least
it could last a week,
Mine haven't lasted that long, but like 3 days. But they still smell like after 24 hours. It's fascinating. So just imagine like your favorite perfume brand, getting a hold of this, and let's say it's Chanel, and you've got like 2 C's on your arm with that smells like your Chanel perfume. It's pretty cool, but this could apply to any company that's got a private label scent. And we think that's going to be a really interesting game changer.
Yeah. Well, great for retail spaces. So again, when you're talking about, taking spa home with you, this is so new and different and easy to walk, easy to walk out of a retail or spa.
Yes. I'm trying to get back over here there we go. Okay, I think we've talked about the Tech Innovation Pavilion. Debra, do you have anything else to add about that?
No, I just think that, what got me excited the most is just the amount of innovation that's coming. So, people have not been sleeping during the pandemic. Like, there's all sorts of new technology, new products, new innovations that are coming to really support wellness, as we continue to move forward. The next part of our conversation is really important, and, might take a little bit of creativity for some properties to think about it. But, mental health to me was almost the theme of the conference. And the word that I really left with was loneliness. Like, people are feeling isolated and they're feeling lonely. And so, we all know, if you watch the news, anxiety is rising, and stress and depression and, suicidal thoughts and all of these things. And so, one of the things I think spas should be thinking about is, how do we help people really integrate back out into the world and be well? Partnering with, maybe counselors or psychologists in your areas, or, I don't know, but mental health is a big deal. And before I turn it over to you guys, I just wanted to let everybody know these fall in different categories. So it's not just, working with a psychologist, mental health. They identified it as self-improvement is one category. Meditation and mindfulness is another category of mental health. The nutraceutical and botanical realm of mental health obviously the big one there is CBD, but there's all sorts of other things. And then senses, spaces, and sleep was another huge word from the summit. Is that the importance of sleep and how to get a good night's rest and sleep. So what are your guys' thoughts on mental health?
Well, Debra, I love that you categorize it like that. It's just such a moving topic. I mean, I was raised, my father was bipolar, and back then in the late 50s, early 60s, you never talked about it. You just didn't talk about it. And there was such shame associated with it. Like, you could get cancer or you could have a liver problem. That's okay. You can get that fixed. But if your mind has a problem, then there was so much shame around it. So this section, one of the highlights of it at the summit was Victor Brick. He and his wife, Lynn, are some of the biggest franchisee owners of group fitness places, Planet Fitness being one of them. And we did a podcast episode. I have to say, what's so funny is we found out we all went to the same college in Maryland. It's a small state school. We even had some of the same professors. How did that ever happen? Anyway, okay, that's them. But his brother suffered from severe mental illness, and he kept trying to save his brother and save him, and he finally passed away way too early. So Victor got up and told the, heartbreaking story, but he took that sorrow and made a mental wellness foundation called the John W. Brick Foundation. And Victor said on the podcast, not only does he want it to be able to help other people, so if you need help, turn to them, but if you have an initiative about mental wellness that needs funding, turn to them, because they're looking for projects to support. How fabulous is that, right? So we love the bricks. And then you go up one slide, Ms. Darlene, and that is Dr. Vivek Murthy, the first one there. He was the Surgeon General, the 19th Surgeon General under Obama, and he was admiral to the Public Health Service Commission, but he has just been named to Biden's COVID task force with Dr. Anthony Fauci. So this is so exciting. And on mental wellness, he just wrote a book. It came out this year on loneliness, the epidemic of loneliness. And I had heard him interviewed on Dax Shepard, Armchair Expert, if anybody listened, on his podcast, and he was so moving and kind. And I thought, oh my God. And then he was on the program. He did a favor for Dr. Carmona. Were you sitting there for that, Deb? Wasn't that a sweet interview?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So talking about the epidemic of loneliness and how COVID is just exacerbating it. So this all led to the release of the latest study. People always sit around and say, where does all that money go for the conference? What is the summit doing with all our money? Because it's like $4,000 to attend. And then you pay your hotel and whatever. But what they do with the money is they fund research. Every year they want another topic. In Singapore, it was the fitness economy. Like, how much is fitness, indigenous to culture? And in Asia, they dance. They do plaza dancing, and Native Americans dance to drums and things like that. So that was what that report was about, to see that impact and how we can get better. And so to think this is about mental wellness. And Susie Ellis, the founder of the summit, co-founder, she had a personal experience that one of her dear, dear girlfriends that she's known for years suffered with depression. And she was a mom and beautiful and so much going for her, and she committed suicide. So Susie dedicated an award to mental wellness. And then another step was funding this research. So if anybody listening wants to attend virtually, you can buy an on-demand pass. It's $500, but you get to attend 70 different, video lectures. You get this report for free. There's a lot of benefits. So anyway, that's
I'll drop
you can
the link in there. Kim, I'll drop the link in there just so everybody can go find it.
Great, super.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Kim had all the highlights for me too. I haven't got to read the report yet, but I downloaded it today and I'm looking forward to it. I do love, Debra, you were talking about how they break it down into certain sectors. So it's always like, well, what does that mean? What is the mental wellness economy? It's very specific how they break it down. And even those 4 categories, the self-improvement and sense of spaces and sleep, they really define exactly what those are. So you know what they're looking at when they're talking about the money that's funneling into all of these different areas of service.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, any spa or property or wellness clinic who really wants to, kind of have a face or brand forward that, we're helping to address mental health, if that's a statement a property is willing to make, it gives you some good categories to play in. So it's not just, again, you don't have to have a psychologist on staff. You might, maybe working with employees or customers, but yeah, it's about your senses and creating beautiful, mindful spaces and sleep, all these things that we already do naturally. And, I think the other big thing was, I don't know, anybody who's familiar with the Global Wellness Summit knows they have that bubble chart. I don't think we have a copy of that to show everybody. Yeah. But I always look at that every year because I want to see the amount of money that's being spent within each industry. And so I've seen the rise over the last few years of, integrative and complementary medicines and people willing to pay out of pocket for anti-aging and aesthetics and things like that. And so, one of the things that Susie was really excited to announce is, it's so big. Mental health is so big for the future. They've created a brand new bubble. That may not mean anything to you, but it means a lot to me because I've watched that graph change, over the last 5 or 6 years. And so now there is a new bubble in the mental health, and they're going to start tracking and seeing how much revenues and money is being spent in that area. So it's,
I love that bubble.
Yeah, I'll just add a couple of things. One thing they talked about was the growth of online therapy, especially for millennials. My son's 20, and during the shutdown, he's like, "Ma, blah, blah, blah," how he felt. And I said, "Well, why don't you go to therapy? It's fun, and it's covered on our insurance." He has loved it so much, he never did it before, that he'd like to be a therapist now, right?
Wow.
And also, millennials are very comfortable. Like some people, they want to privately go look in the face of the therapist, lay on the couch, whatever. Nope. Millennials are very comfortable doing it online. And we also interviewed a VP from eMindful. Is that the name of it, Darlene? eMindful. It doesn't look really slick when you look at an app, but when you get deep into it, it's a lot about workplace wellness. And they reach right out to companies like Boeing, like Aetna, like Ever, to keep people grounded because these are daily tasks. Like, these are my goals for today. This is my negative thought pattern. Here's how I get out of the spiral. And it's tips on an app. You can remind yourself, okay, look up, take a walk, think of what you're grateful for. Anyway, how cool is that in workplace wellness? That's a tool in your pocket right there.
Mm-hmm. One of the things you just said, Deborah, it was something I really enjoyed at the summit. I'm not sure, it might be one of the presentations that you have to register to get, but they talked about, right, like, so with all of this information, defining the mental wellness economy. Well, if you don't have, people on staff to sort of lead some programs or guide people through, some exercises or experiences, then how do you really apply this to your business? And they had a whole page of fabulous ideas and suggestions that anybody could take and utilize. So, it's not just, destination spas or places like, Amaranth that, or you don't have to have a hot springs to, provide a great service for somebody and to provide answers for this. It could just be something as simple as establishing a community among your customers in whatever way that looks like. Could be online or in person, or they had a lot of great ideas about that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And, to your point, I work with a company called CoSpace, and they're literally rental space for psychologists to meet with their clients. And a lot of them are going to telehealth, so they are going virtual. And even some of the anti-aging facilities are able to do blood labs and doctor consultations. So we all kind of knew it was coming, that, we're moving in that direction. But I think what the pandemic has forced is for these people to stay in business, they have to adopt this sort of distance. But, I'm a firm believer there's nothing like in-person contact and communication. But I don't think virtual is going anywhere.
Same.
So I know you guys are excited to talk about the next topic, which is really the focus on wellness, real estate, and communities. And I'll just give a impartial third-party experience. So I was granted a media pass to the Amaranth Grand sort of celebration after the Global Wellness Summit, and so got a firsthand tour of the property. Met the founders, and this is the stuff I love. Like, I love to see wellness start to be incorporated where you live, where you move, where you work, and they're doing a fantastic job. In fact, one of their restaurants is literally fully vegan. It's going to be totally vegan. The spa, all we could see is kind of wood and scraps, but we know what's coming, and it's going to be a beautiful thing for South Florida.
Yeah, it's so fun to see this wellness idea. It's like that Japanese painting of the bird in the corner of a blank canvas, because there's just so much potential. For what they liken it to is, some people like to live in a golf community, right? And so they surround themselves with easy access to golf courses. So Amaranth will have 100,000 square feet of wellness amenities, from doctors to touchless therapies to they're going to have two things that I haven't seen other places too much. One is hair and scalp health. And I'll tell you, girls, I don't know if there's probably a lot of guys on here too, but our scalps get ignored in the fray. We think we just scrub them through with the shampoo, but if we were bald, we'd pay more attention to our scalp. So it's called Trichology, and they're using, in Boca, there's the #1 hair transplant guy in the country. And he does a lot to keep scalps healthy. So he's going to be the advisor there. So hair and scalp health. And then they're going to do way, way, way sophisticated yoga and Ayurveda. And they're even going to do panchakarma. Panchakarma, that's that whole big, draining of everything that I don't know if I have the courage to try. Darlene, would you tell these nice people about why Veronica is so cool? Veronica Schreibes.
We met Veronica in the hallway close to our guest room. She has been to a couple of global wellness summits, but lo and behold, we've never met her, because sometimes, here's the other thing about this in-person event that was so great. It was so much smaller that we really got to meet a lot of new people who we may not have had the opportunity to get to know. And I also got to sit by two of the Shark Tank students, which was very cool. And then I sat next to Veronica one night at dinner, and she's a wellness architect, and she won an award at the end of the summit. And she was also on the panel for real estate and communities, and she had a lot to say and a lot to think about. She's designing I can't say who it's for. She's designing a home for some very famous wellness guru. You could maybe guess, but she talks about vibrations and vortexes in the earth and energy fields and fabrics and textures and light and all of these things that are important, but you don't know how to get it all together. And she was also one of our podcast interviews, and which is out right now, and you could go and listen to it. It's fabulous. Great information. She's a super dynamo, and we were really inspired by meeting up with her.
She actually has had a baby at the last 3 conferences. So she was pregnant at 1. She had a 6-week-old at the second. And this time she had a 2-month-old or a 1-month-old. And she says she travels with her mom, the granny nanny. It makes it all possible. But anyway, on the podcast, you get to know these people like you're having coffee with them. And that's what's so fun. So don't forget the Global Wellness Summit podcast. You can get it on Spotify or Apple or anything. But we'll hear all about her tips about being more productive at work if your environment is better. And she said, clutter distracts you. And I said, well, then my bedroom, I can't get anything done there. So anyway.
And if any of our attendees, if you guys are familiar with some wellness communities or properties that are opening up in your area, drop them down here, because I would love to look them up. Just drop me a comment, please. But yes, I think the Global Wellness Summit is amazing because it's all about the future. It's like, yeah, we're here today, but we really didn't spend any energy so much on, how tough 2020 was. It was more excitement about the future and what's coming and all these innovations and wellness properties. And, I missed that. I missed being in that environment. So I was very excited to be able to go. So let's talk about the immune boosting power of hot springs. I used to have a client. I'll give you a little backstory first. So everybody, you guys know Jim Root, right? Former chairman of the board for the International Spa Association. So I was speaking at an iSpa conference and I invited him. I said, hey, you need to come in and watch this presentation. I think it was called Turning Massage into Gold or something like that. And he came in and sat in that presentation and then hired the company that I owned at the time, iMassage, with Eric Stevenson. And we ended up working with Glen Ivy Hot Springs and Spa for about 3 years. And so, there's just something magical about those places and properties that have that either natural or even replicated sort of water and hot springs experience.
It's true. We're big fans of hot springs. We have a client in Pagosa Springs, Colorado called the Springs Resort and Spa. They are home to the world's deepest geothermal hot spring at 1,002 feet deep. The Eiffel Tower could fit into it. And that water feeds 24 soaking tubs along the river. The cold river, which you can also jump out of the hot tubs and take a cold plunge, or they also have some showers set up around the pools. But David Dronet, one of the owners, is on the Global Wellness Institute's Hot Springs Initiative. And they got together this year and decided that, there's really no better time to talk about the healing benefits of a hot spring and how they can boost your immune system. They're great for circulation. They have lasting benefits after you get out of the water. You're soaking in all these minerals. And so they decided to put together a global live soak on November 13th and 14th with 10 different countries from around the world. And I have a little teaser video if you guys want to see it. It's about 6 minutes long. It's a little bit inspiring, but I think they hit on some really cool taglines and phrases that will maybe make you guys want to go visit a hot spring.
And before we play, because it's, it is a thing. And if you cry, please tell us, because we cry every time we see it. But I just want to say hello from Madeira Island in Portugal. We want to retire there, and so I can't believe you're listening. I'm so excited. My husband and I will never retire, but he will. Anyway, we are playing this because I want you to know it's very, very important. Dr. Mark Cohen, who's been a real advocate and participant in the summits every year, is in Australia, and he is a PhD, and he did a peer-reviewed study on the power of hot springs to fight viruses and build immunity. And the point is that when your body is attacked with a virus or bacteria, it does what it does to kickstart the immune system. It starts a fever, right, by raising your core temperature. Well, a hot spring does the same thing if you soak in it, only there's no negative side effects like a fever has. So their big philosophy is soak during COVID. Soak whenever you can. And if you don't have a hot springs, take a really hot bath at least once a week. Isn't that exciting? That's easy.
That's easy. Put a little Himalayan salt in there or something.
Right.
A little essential oil.
Okay. We're going to see it.
All right, let's play this video.
Okay.
Make it big. Yeah. You guys hear it?
desert heart of this vast dry land. The distant voices calling woman and man. From every nation you call home.
Victoria, Australia.
Chongqing, China.
The Lewis Pass at the South Island, New Zealand.
Colorado, USA.
Bring your stories, bring your hopes, bring your dreams and wishes.
Uh-oh.
As a timeless place awaits to wrap you in its warm embrace. The wisdom of all elders lit the sparks when worlds collide. This is an invitation to come and feel love from every side. In the healing waters, the healing. Underground, shudder, holding her in one day. In one day. Splash in the gray desert sea. Yellow bay, charging out spirit.
Soak together,
Heal together.
soak together, and heal together.
Soak together, heal together.
Fight together, heal together.
Yellow bay, charging out spirit.
Hello, Hot Springs Farm.
Please join us for our local Hot Springs event.
Separated by oceans.
Separated by oceans.
那些个从前没上这里之后
让我们联系在一起。
，connected by water. Connected by water.
Connected by water.
Although we are separated by oceans, we are all connected by water.
That was beautiful.
Anyway, I love that. I mean, nature also is always a big theme at the Global Wellness Summit. That is one thing we haven't talked about, and that sort of brings it back to that point. That's something that all of us can do and have access to that is good for us.
Mhm. Find a hot
I can
spring to go soak.
Yes.
So we are closing in on our hour here, and I know we want to talk about dancing with joy. I wasn't even 100% sure what we were going to cover there. And then obviously, if anybody who's watching has questions, anything we haven't covered, please drop it. If we don't know it right now, we'll make sure we get that information to you.
Hi, Christy Kaczynski and Debra, our wonderful Debra Brunet. She's so wonderful. We have lovely people on this call. Do you want to real quick show the dancing pictures, Darlene?
I'm trying to get there.
Well, one of the speakers was Dr. Nicola Finley. She's Jamaican American. She went to Brown University. She has so many degrees. She was a doctor in underserved communities in Arizona, Native American reservations and Latin communities. So she's seen both sides because now she's in Canyon Ranch. She's their integrative medicine doctor. So she sees people that can afford, an hour and a half with your physician. So out of everything she's seen in life and the inequities and what have you, what thing that really brings her joy is dancing. And she's a Zumba instructor. So she was trying to tell us, remember to move for joy. And I don't know, everyone can agree with me that's been in the spa industry. From the beginning of iSpa, we danced like mental people. Any kind of party that ever was, we're like, whoa! And I did, you can see the next picture. I studied ballet for 10 years, way too late in life. But anytime someone plays music, so at this party, we had to dance with masks on. It was so hilarious. But it was the first dancing that anybody at the Breakers was allowed to do since COVID. So in the next picture, you'll see that the waiters and waitresses were all joining with and dancing at the event. But, I think the message here is just remember joy. You must find a way, whether it's kissing your dog or twirling around the living room floor with your husband or kid or whatever. You have to remember joy because it's there. We have to, go out and look at the sunset, anything, a bubbling brook. So just move for joy, like Darlene did here.
I don't know how that picture got in there.
Awesome. Well, does anybody have any questions? Obviously, I'm so happy to see some of the names on here that I recognize, and also to meet some new people. Thank you so much for joining us. This is recorded. If everything worked right, it should be streaming to my YouTube as we speak. And so we will be sharing this link so that you guys can help us share the replay.
Just, Deborah, another helpful tip that was just such a gift to us. We need sponsors to make the podcast happen because it's really sophisticated in its production side. We use a team that does 60 different podcasts. So it takes a while to make it all come out as nicely as it does. So we lost the sponsor we had lined up. And I was so sad because I thought, well, maybe we just can't do it. We lost him at the last minute due to VC funding. So I was out by the pool where I live, and a neighbor has two adorable kids that I can't stay away from, 2 and 6, I think. And their grandma always visits, and she's cute, British accent. I didn't even know if she worked. Anyway, she said, "What is wrong with you today? You're so sad." I said, "We lost our sponsor." And so she's like, "Well, what are you sponsoring? What's it about? Who do you need?" And I thought, why is she asking me? She goes, "I know a lot of people." Turns out she owns the biggest pet food snack company in the world. And she's great chums with a guy who owns a company that's only worth like $200 million that makes healthy, pure supplements for pets and people. And one of the things they make is a vitamin to build your immune system during COVID. It's all pure elderberry, zinc, D, C, and this thing called creatine that's only usually in beef. So we're all kind of low in it, but it builds your T cells so you can fight immunity. Can you believe that's who sponsors the podcast? I feel like crying. So
what is the name of the company?
It's called Vireo Systems, and the
Promera Health.
Promera Health is the immune boosting thing. It's $20 on Target.com. Promera.
And I have this little topical cream that's better than ibuprofen. That doesn't smell bad. It doesn't smell like those other things. But anyway, little show and tell.
And when you leave the conga line at a Global Wellness Summit and you kick your knee out of place, that stuff really comes in handy. I don't know why I know that.
Awesome. Well, it has been a joy to host our first official. Michelle said she loves all our comments and our newsy recap of the first hybrid summit. So we're there in person and enjoyed every minute. I feel like I learned so much, and there was so much more to share, but we just don't have time to do all that. But appreciate everybody's attention. And again, I'm the founder of Well World TV. Check us out, wellworld.tv. We are all about educating and inspiring content creators in their journey to start producing video content. So thank you, Darlene. Thank you, Kim, for joining us today. And we'll catch you down the road. Everybody stay well, stay safe. Happy holidays.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.